Hello, welcome back to Suzerain. If you notice at all during this video that my voice is perhaps a bit messy, it is because I, as long-time viewers of the channel might be aware of, have engaged in the national pastime, and long-time viewers know what that is. But I'm not going to get into that in the first 30 seconds of the video, because then YouTube's going to clap my cheeks. But, before I get into this, I just want to talk about something, because I think someone misunderstood me, something I said in video 2, I think, or episode 2, because at this point I'm recording this after release, when episode 1 and 2 have released, so this will probably be episode 6, I believe, as you won't see this until a while in, and at that point your questions or your concerns might have been answered. But a Brazilian did not like my comment on foreign direct investment, how I said like that is a good thing. Make no mistake, I am no I'm no big friend of the free market and stuff. I don't believe that allowing another country to come in and extract your natural resources and use your cheap labor in order to enrich the people in that country is a really good thing. I think there are some misunderstandings there, since I'm critical of economic nationalism, like in the sense of stuff that Russia does, stuff that China does, stuff that the US does, stuff that a lot of countries around the world does, tariffs, trade wars and stuff like that. Even though I'm not a big fan of the market, it's complicated. But yeah, I, as some of you may know, am a university student and have studied some, politics of natural resources and stuff like that. And, it's kind of messed up, that whole thing. How, the oil curse, Google that if you want to, how that sort of ruins nations by making them rich. Or making people in the nation rich, a select few. But let's dive into the brief... Actually, no, let's read these things first, the reports. Let's see, classified. Subject, Kesaro Kibner demands emergency to be called. The leader of NFP, Kesaro Kibner, well... Of course, to address the increasing political violence in the country. I think we saw this maybe, but every time you load a save, it refreshes them, I think. So you can see them again, in case you forgot. He stated that without a declaration of emergency, Scotland would be destabilized and the integrity of the country would be damaged even further. Well, the nationalists love their, national emergencies, because it allows them to push through legislation or policy or make good on their ideological goals outside of the regular framework of society. Like, you're usually bound by a lot of strictures and stuff in society and by a lot of, policy and legislation that has come before, and a lot of, precedents. But during a national emergency, a lot of that precedent sort of melts away because people are like, well, we're in extraordinary circumstances, so we're now more open to extraordinary solutions. And that can go disastrously, as as any student of history will let you know. Let's see here. Illegal firearms found in the Communist Party office. Any AKs or KVs or whatever they were called, KV-74. The Ribery, almost read it as Bribery Police Department, which would be a funny department, raided the local Communist Party office after alleged attacks organized by one of their members and found illegal firearms in the office. Well, and yeah, the police are overburdened in Estud. And Narbel. Along the borders getting tense, Rumberg's Southern Army was sighted training close to our borders and did not respond after we issued a radio message. Yeah, this is like some of the stuff that we have to deal with Russia and Norway. The Chief of the Armed Forces, General Kruger, reports to have increased patrolling duties along the northern border to signal readiness. Suppose that's fair? Around midnight, Red Youth protesters clashed with young swords at... I saw this, Vesod city center, resulting in many injuries. I've seen this. The counter-protesters were cornered in front of the United Continental Embassy after they were pushed back by the police. The embassy opened its doors and Red Youth members escaped inside. The police are still waiting outside the building for the return of the Red Youth members. So they're hiding in an embassy, which is kind of a tricky diplomatic situation, I think. let's go to the briefing. I came a little early to the meeting room before anybody showed up. We had scheduled a meeting to discuss the, to discuss the progress of the Reform Committee regarding the new constitution. Took a seat on the center chair in the vacant meeting room as I waited for them to show up. The reforms were slowly becoming the most significant expectation of my government. We would be changing Salt's Constitution of 29. Most people nowadays blamed the Constitution for the outstanding problems of the country. On the other hand, the reformists in the Assembly have been getting louder about demands. What I knew for sure was that I needed to do something about this encroaching chaos before it swallowed me. Meanwhile, Lucian, Pedro, and Nia had been leading the committee to prepare an initial draft for the constitutional amendments. I was intrigued to hear the results. There was a knock on the door. It was Lucian. "Good afternoon, sir." Lucian arrived exactly on the hour mark again. His punctuality could almost be described as obsessive or robotic, maybe. "I'm watching you. Let's have him up here so you can read." "Good afternoon, Lucian." Took a seat on the table and took out a bunch of documents, spreading them on the long table. "We should begin this meeting as soon as Mrs. Morgana and Mr. Vice President arrives. Finally have some results from the Reform Committee. How does it look?" "Well, the situation is quite complicated, but I'm sure we will make it work, just like we accomplished many things before. We'll go over the details regarding the new constitution in the meeting." A few minutes later, Petra and Nia have arrived. Now, I'm actually worried here because I'm starting to come to a realization that we are obviously not the National Front Party. Like, we're not like them. We're not a right wing. Well, we're like a center party, right? With some, you know, a right wing and a left wing of the center party, and I'm sort of, I guess, now positioning myself into leading the left wing of the center party. But the issue is that you have the Reformist Party, which is like a liberal party, I guess. They're not a true left-wing party, but they're like a social liberal, market liberal party. Let's try to find them. It is under, I could see party leaders, right? Because they're led by, yeah, Friends Richter, right? People's Freedom and Justice Party. Now I want to see, there we go. So, the problem is that I'm afraid that I'm now I'm going to center left, there we go. I'm going to neutralize my, my political energy by essentially becoming a party without identity, is what I'm worried about, because the nationalists want one thing, and like a lot of patriots and stuff, patriots want something, but I'm not giving them that, and a lot of the, you know, liberals want something, and if I give them that, maybe they'll just think these guys are kind of like us, but not quite enough, and they'll just stick with these guys. Yeah, so like I do think we actually have to, or we must, I guess, go further left than these guys, because otherwise we have no identity, which is the problem that a lot of liberal parties face, especially in Norway. The Liberal Party here is essentially irrelevant, and it used to be like it was one of the largest parties in the country, but that's a long while ago, back when it was just the right and the left. Left meaning the Liberal Party and the right meaning the Conservative Party. That's how you translate them. After a short chat, everybody sat down and took out their notes. I knew it was going to be a long meeting. There's a lot of talk going about this, the future of this process. Let us begin to tackle the points of contention. Mr. President, our committee meetings were really fruitful, and we already started working on the constitutional draft together with the reformists. It demanded a little too much, but I've had success with Friends Richter to create a realistic draft that could potentially go through the Supreme Court. Also a big issue, yeah. Whatever we do, it has to go through the Supreme Court, which is probably going to be extremely conservative, as most Supreme Courts are. Let me double check again. Looking like some sort of like Anime Nation thing right here. Does it say how many justices there are? I think there were like 11 or something. And I'm assuming they sit on the court for life, right? Yeah, like a Supreme Court as the highest criminal court is not a bad idea, but as a Supreme Court as the highest like legal body that also rules on legal cases that are meant to, or that aren't necessarily. I mean, I suppose like most legal cases will, in one way, shape, or form, involve some sort of like not criminal liability. There's another word for it, but something like that. But the idea that a Supreme Court of a handful of people, I think I may have said this in a previous video, I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but the idea that a small handful of people who are, you know, elected for life or whatever, or chosen for life, as in some countries, can make drastic, or can make decisions about the politics of the nation is kind of weird when the politics of the nation are meant to be rooted in a national assembly, as it is right here. Kind of like you can tell how this this democracy is deeply flawed, because you have, you know, the National Assembly, which is meant to be make the people sort of like, I don't know what the the word for it is in English, but folkesuverenitet, which means like this to embody the sovereignty of the people over the government and all that. But then you have the Supreme Court, which is not elected by the people and also makes decisions that are above the National Assembly, which means that in essence you have an executive, which I've sort of neutered, or I'm in the process of neutering because I'm removing the veto right? An executive that is now sort of becoming subservient in a way, I guess, to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court can make decisions that I can't make. They demanded to rewrite the whole constitution. Well, I think we should. The requests were definitely not outrageous, just not realistic in today's circumstances, just because it wouldn't pass the assembly. Nonetheless, I'm glad that we are reaching common ground already. If we can reach the agreement with the Reformists, we will be very strong in the assembly to propose the change. Yeah, is it possible to pass the Supreme Court? They are the biggest obstacle, yeah. Even if we pass the assembly, the Chief Justice will do his best to block our amendments. We need at least 6 of the 11 judges to vote for the proposal, but Mr. Hawker has enormous influence over the judges, so I guess we have to convince this guy. Or so Hawker. We should reach out to the judges in secret. Some of them might be willing to break rank to support us. They will surely support a just cause for the country and its future. No, all means are to be considered in order to succeed. Nis was taken aback by this, or Nia was taken aback by this statement. Yeah, that she's the truly good and principled one. According to the Constitution, I'm a member of the Supreme Court, which means we already have one vote. Well, I guess, yeah. 2 of the judges are friends of mine and of similar opinion on the reforms. Consider them with me, so that's 3. Who else would be willing to support it? We're not going to bribe them. That's disgusting. Who else would be willing to support the reforms? I think Judge Edmonds and, or can be persuaded, and in extension Mr. Dalton and Mr. Merton, so we have 6. They weren't really blinded by the Solist ideology. Oh, well, we don't have 6, we have 6, or we have 3 extra that we can get. We have 3. If we can get to Isabel Edmonds, we might get 6 votes. The 6 votes needed, that's our best bet. Can reach a 2/3 majority in the assembly. We can get Franz Richter to work with you on this. Yeah, I feel confident that we can, because we are sort of aligned with him on a lot of things. We'll never be able to get the NFP to work with us. Yeah, that's a lost cause. And I wouldn't want to anyways, because I don't know. I don't like the idea of what they might do with the Constitution. We need the majority of our... Like, they would probably... they push for, like, an expanded executive, right? They want the president to have more rights, or more powers, rather. We need the majority of our 130 seats in the assembly to vote in favor. And then with the Justice Party's full support, 70 votes, we will easily surpass the needed 166. So actually the problem is probably our own party. But it will be tough to unite the USP, yeah, with all the divisive wings that have formed. That's the thing, we are a big tent party. We did it before the elections, we can do it again. Albin Clavin and his reformist wing would be supporting you. He already weighed in heavily in the committee meetings. Alright, so he's probably like my He's my guy. He was instrumental in the passing of the free market reforms of Alfonso. Never mind, he might not be my guy. Because we've sort of distanced ourselves from the market reforms of Alfonso, right? However, the conservatives would be tough to break. The influence of Sol is still living strong in the party. How many votes do they have? Conservatives have around 40 seats. There are many unaligned people, and some of your loyalists might decide to show their true faces too. So we need as many conservatives to support us. And there's only one person who's key to make them back us. Gloria Torre. She is well respected by the Solists. She'll be our biggest obstacle in the assembly, and her demands will be extensive. I also have reasons to think she might be in Orso's pocket. She will be tough to break, but we'll need her help to get the conservative support. What are the demands? We should run down each one of the main demands of the committee and get your input first. Mrs. Morgana can explain them further. We'll start with the first red line. The new constitution will fix the loopholes regarding the president's absolute veto powers. Yeah, those are bad. Those are really good for us. They're really bad for the country. Even though Mr. Richter put on a whole show about why vetoes should completely be removed, the committee has almost unanimously agreed on fixing the loopholes, thus limiting presidential vetoes. My suggestion is to add a clause detailing the methods the assembly may override a veto with some sort of a supermajority. One person should never be able to block the rest. Well, she's correct on that, but a supermajority doesn't really seem realistic. So what this means essentially is that as long as the biggest party is completely behind the president, his veto still stands. Which, were the president to already be a totalitarian or sort of like a dictatorial type, like and not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a fascist, but an authoritarian of some sort, then odds are he's going to have the party on his side, because that's, you know, the mechanisms of authoritarianism work that way. You don't often see an authoritarian without sort of blind loyalty from their followers, right? Or rather, not blind loyalty, but blind, sort of like at least an expressed blind loyalty. Because even in the Nazi party, you had people who did not like Hitler. Like, even high up. But, they still went along with everything he did. As is the case with most authoritarian regimes. So, I think, oh yeah, by the way, we're now deep enough into the video that I think the YouTube, algorithm has sort of checked out and has decided this video is clean. So the national pastime in Norway is binge drinking with your friends, which was done over Discord because the current situation. My suggestion is to add a clause detailing the methods the assembly may override a veto with some sort of supermajority. Yeah, so I think the loopholes do give the president too much power. Whenever you decide it's important to get a balanced picture, we will be making history by changing the 29 Constitution of Seoul. The second one is about the judiciary. The new constitution will remove the Supreme Court's right to vote on legislation. Yes, I want this. This is yet another point that was unanimously agreed on by all parties. Tarkin Sol established this rule to protect the 29 Constitution. We all know most of the judges are still in his service pawns. Isn't he dead? Oh no, he is. Well, that's bad. Constitutional amendments will still be very difficult to, I was hoping it would say was, accomplish. So wait, he might be... Oh my god, I've just realized he is a military officer and a politician. He might actually try... He might actually try a coup. If I do something, he might actually try something really bad. Okay, Mr. You know, not Antonio Salazar or Francisco Franco here. However, the judiciary will not have the final, or not have the final say in the amendment. So, yeah, you still need 2/3 of the vote in order to propose a change, which is fine. That's how it should be, I think. You need a supermajority for a constitutional reform, so you don't have one majority party that just rams through constitutional changes that will then essentially erase any other party's ability to do anything. Like, you can actually have a well-meaning. By the way, I'm spending a lot of time on this because I have a lot of things to say, and I love the sound of my own voice. But you can actually do a lot of, or you can actually like get really close to a fully authoritarian, maybe even like a fascist country with a well-meaning, quote-unquote well-meaning people who are just kind of stupid, or don't see the bigger picture. Because if you're in a situation where you have two parties, right, or two big parties, and one is bigger than the other, that bigger party obviously think that whatever their policy is correct and is the best for the nation. Everyone thinks what they're doing is good. Usually, some people do realize what they're doing is evil. A lot of Nazis did, but again, they still did it. But most people, we can assume to at least believe that what they're doing is correct, or at least try to rationalize it. So what happens is that they will then try to erode the opposition's, unless they're very principled, they will try to erode the opposition's ability to combat them through sort of nefarious means like gerrymandering and, voter suppression, changing the rules so it's harder for them to oppose you and stuff like that, just making it really hard for the opposition to actually to win. And in doing so, you now get to ram through your policy, which you believe is best. Like, you do this because you think this is the good thing to do. But you're opening doors and building roads and building bridges for someone else to cross in the future. And that person is not going to be you. That person is going to be someone else with different ideals and different ideas for, the country. And you sort of have just built the infrastructure for authoritarianism. Which is why I think that we shouldn't do stuff right now that is going to be helpful to us. Because it will also be helpful to him or anyone else. Yeah, this is already what we wanted to do, yeah. We need the court to even pass this change. Why would they even support this? Most of them won't, but we already talked about my vote and a possible agreement with Isabel, which may change things. Apart from those two critical points, they have other major demands. They want to reform the appointment procedures for the ministers. Mr. Victor clarified that the Assembly should have a say in the formation of the Council of Ministers. Not really, that doesn't make any sense, right? Wait, that is something that a majority in our party also supports. Okay, I guess. I mean, more democracy, you can't complain about that, I guess, but surely if you are the party that won, right? If your party won, you get to decide the ministers, because you have the majority, right? Unless it's a minority government, in which case this whole process would be extremely fucked. Well, Mr. Richter also talked about abolishing the member of honor rights of Tarkin Sol that gives him absolute immunity and makes him a permanent member of the Assembly. Yes, let us get rid of that, please. Well, that one is a controversial one. I doubt that USP will like that. Yeah, we need to get rid of that one, because I think I'm just starting to realize that I think they are setting this up as a possible looming threat. Immunity of the justices, the impeachment of the president. Again, I don't know anything about what happens in this game. I'm going in completely blind. Immunity of the justices, the impeachment of the president, limiting the power of the presidential decrees. All of this came up during the committee meetings. Yes, reformists expect big reforms, while our faction in the USP are not very keen on pushing changes that are too great. I'd say keeping everything in the middle ground is the safest bet. No need to agitate anyone too much. I don't know. I disagree. We'll push for comprehensive reforms. We need to establish our own identity as someone who is different. So our identity right now, the way I'm looking at it, is we are the People's Justice and Freedom and Justice Party, but without the market liberalization or whatever. Why is this text blue? I think that's a glitch. But we are this party. Yeah, that's a glitch. We are this party, but without the sort of love of capitalism. We are the party that's going to... We're the left-wing populist party. We're the party that's going to give you healthcare, give you education, give you infrastructure, at the cost of the richest. That's our identity that we're trying to establish here. And my goal, or my hope then, is that, because I assume this game has multiple terms, I don't know actually, this might, I don't know where this story goes, but I'm playing this as if it does. I'm playing it as if I'm, you know, I'm in this situation right now. So my goal then is that, or my idea is that the people from this party who are voting this party because they are the best alternative, because they are doing the things that they want, they're doing populist reforms, might go over to our party. Now, we're probably not going to get a lot of the National Front voters, but there is... are they called the National Front? I think so. But there is a possibility, actually, because a lot of people who are joining radical parties like that, including our party right now, or the party I'm trying to turn our party into, are people who are really upset about things. And they are legitimate grievances. And if we can address those grievances in a way that they might actually like, they might actually hop over, because a lot of time when they are, or a lot of time, at least from my experience, the very, very far-right parties are full of people with legitimate concerns, but it's all about like they're trying to address them with the wrong solutions, in my opinion, and scapegoating a lot. But they're talking about the stuff that people care about, and that's why they vote for them. So I think we by doing this and trying to go hard for comprehensive reforms, we eliminate the threat of the PFJP, and we may actually pick up some NFP boys and girls. Yeah, let's push for comprehensive reforms. I'm with you on this, Mr. President. Well, regardless of what Mr. Rain decides, we will need to work together to push this agenda. Now we have a better picture of your intentions, sir. I will start reaching out to my contacts to make a draft that works for us. Yeah, this might not pass because of the Supreme Court. So that's the problem with being too ambitious and too idealistic, I suppose. But then again, I'm sort of the opinion that you gotta push for the thing you want. You don't push for the half measures. I realize that I've been on this screen for about 30 minutes. I'll present you your input to the committee. In a few months, you would have the draft on your desk to make the final changes yourself. I think this was yet another fruitful meeting, sir. Together, we will democratize Swordsland. And you have my full support, Mr. President. Ours too, of course. Yes, sir. Thank you for your time. I think this is where we'll call it, sir. Have a good day. Okay. That seemed good, I think. I think we did a good thing. Apologies for rambling, by the way. I know some people from past videos are like, well, this is why we come to your videos and not other people's videos, but I can't help but feel as if some people are like, just get on with the story, I want to see what happens next. Meeting with Chief Justice Orso Hawker. We don't have time for that in this video, because we're at the 28th minute mark, so I don't want to get halfway into that or make this a 45-minute video. So I think that I will... I will maybe, yeah, I'll do a stop here. I'll end the video here, and then we'll go on to talking to the Chief Justice and getting into the really dangerous part of this reform sequence, or the really risky, the part where everything can go wrong. That'll happen next video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and once again, all that stuff that you might be looking for is probably in the description. Where to buy the game, I believe, on Steam, and we should also read the news next video. But also, yeah, Twitch, Twitter, all that garbage, where I share all my bad opinions when I don't share them here. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.